Good morning from Bali, everyone. It's Hanifa Menon from hearthealthbrainhealth.com, encouraging healthy grieving and mindful actions. Today, I want to talk about a new term, I guess new diagnosis we might call it, and it's something that's being called post-COVID syndrome. Post-COVID syndrome. And this is something, if you can believe that, yes, it's got new language, a new term to it, but it's something that I spoke about or wrote about even a couple of years ago. And so it was interesting because at the time I was actually also commenting on the experience of this COVID time and what it was creating in society and what it still continues to have the after effects of. And these studies right now that are showing this post-COVID syndrome is the exact same thing. And what scientists, researchers are discovering is that there's a lot of people that have been affected by COVID without even ever having COVID and never having the diagnosis of COVID and yet experiencing the results of it. So do you know that in COVID time, we all heard a lot of the news and what we went through. We're out of toilet paper. The whole world was out of toilet paper suddenly. And this was a mass consciousness that all of us picked up on and suddenly got really worried about toilet paper. But you know, if we were just looking at the action, we would think about toilet paper. The other action was, do I get a vaccine? Do I not get a vaccine? Is someone going to ask me? Do I ask them? Do I tell people? Do I not tell people? All of these things were coming up in this COVID experience, and a lot of that has continued. And the thing is it wasn't that it just started with COVID. It started way before that. This checking in and comparing of how am I doing compared to the next person has added up a lot in the world, in our minds, in our experience. And it's interesting that how I would say around the whole world, we are actually very aware of physical fitness these days. Now, there was a time where no one really paid attention for that, but people were working hard and physically active. And these days, a lot of our activity is right in front of a computer or a screen, and it's not so much movement. So when we got into this awareness that, oh, movement is very important, and so even if you're sitting at your desk for an hour, every hour, get up and walk around, just have a little bit of a break and get your body moving or stretch at your desk or anything. It was about body. And then there's this mental fitness or emotional fitness or spiritual fitness, which I would like to talk about. That if we look at the results of COVID, even during the time of COVID, you do know that some people who got COVID recovered very quickly, and some people was a very long, drawn-out process. And of course, scientists then looked it up and said, oh, you know, it's because this is what's happening in the blood of this person, this is in this person, and when this is happening, this person does not so well. And you know, this is great information in the world that we live in for pharmaceutical companies to jump on and say, oh, we'll make a product to help that expression in the body or this molecule so that this can strengthen that. And so we look for things outside of us to strengthen us. So when we look at fitness, we look at something, I'll go to a gym, I'll get the weights, I'll go to a swimming pool, whatever it is, I'm looking for the experience outside to help my body. And when we look at the mind, people are doing the same thing too, aren't they? They're looking for the experience outside of themselves to know what to do with the mind. And yet the result is only when people are actually doing, right? It's the actual experience of doing. And I'd like to make sure that we all understand that we have all contributed to the increased anxiety and the increased depression that we're seeing all around us and perhaps within us. And this experience is an energetic experience that people might never label depression or anxiety. Yet, when it becomes an actual concern where someone can't sleep, and sleep is a huge concern in our society today, if someone can't sleep or someone can't focus when they're working, which is another concern, both of these things are related to the heart channel in Chinese medicine, and this is what led to my article a couple of years ago about these emotions are affecting the heart, and from this space, healing can be helped or hindered in the body. And this is very important for us to know because COVID has left this impression on us, this fear that was raised for so many people watching the news of what's happening now, who's not living now? Which country is being affected? Which country is safe? Where should I go? What should I do? All of that. And it raised a fear, it raised an anxiety, and it raised a depression. We saw people dying. We saw massive graves. We saw that people couldn't even visit their loved ones in the hospital when they were dying. And this was all this fear of, what if I get it? What if I am not allowed in? What if my loved one passes away? All of that was happening and still happens today in various conditions too. Today, what I'd like us to focus on is the fact that we actually do have some tools to work with to strengthen this emotional space for emotional healing, which then strengthens the physical healing. Spiritual healing starts first. I'm going to say this is my true belief, that mindfulness and meditation affects the spiritual fitness of an individual. Then that affects the mental fitness of an individual. Then that affects the physical well-being of a person. And so today I wanted to remind us that not only have we taken in the energy, and we're definitely feeding on it still, because of course these energies are still continuing in different parts of the world, in different businesses, different organizations, and from ourselves too. How do I get ahead? How do I compare myself to another person? How am I better than another person? How am I not as good as another person? All of that is happening. That is the same comparison that was happening at COVID time. And again, way before that time, that eventually led to the COVID experience, and now post-COVID syndrome, or post-COVID experience. Let's say we are collectively experiencing this. Now let's say you are a very content, happy, satisfied person. Beautiful. Spread that energy. But you might notice that there's a lot of people around us that are not. Whether we see them walking along the street, rushed to get to the next place. Rushed in the morning when they wake up and think, I have to do this, there's that to-do list. Rushed when they're going to sleep at night, that I wonder if I'll get enough hours of sleep. And not conscious of how their minds are working, or what they're focusing on, or is there a spiritual fitness that's helping my entire system to heal. Today I thought I'd read a couple of quotes to you, and the first one is by the Dalai Lama, and it says, it is our collective and individual responsibility to preserve and tend to the world in which we all live. It is our collective and individual responsibility to preserve and tend to the world in which we all live. And here's the thing, if I'm consciously aware that I am participating in this, whether I'm mindfully aware of it or not, I can know that I do contribute. But most people think that, what's one positive thought? Well, guess what? One positive thought can make a big difference. It's a drop in the bucket, and your bucket keeps on getting filled. The more positive, truly authentic thoughts, words, and actions that you can participate in. So this series that I'm creating for these videos this month, probably over the next week, I would like you to know that this is going to be training not only for every individual that watches these videos, but for healthcare professionals specifically, because we are playing a role that is actually already in a position that knows that it's affecting the health of others. But do we? Do we really know that we're affecting the health of others? Is it because of the medicine we give? Is it how we give this medicine? Whatever the medicine, whether you are counseling, whether you are giving a supplement, whether you're giving a pharmaceutical, it doesn't matter. It does matter the space from which you give. So I thought today I would remind you about this post-COVID syndrome that has now been researched a fair amount, and so happy that something that I'd written years ago is today actually making it to scientific literature. And I want you to be one step ahead to recognize that it all makes a difference in terms of our emotional healing, our spiritual healing, our physical healing. It's all tied together, and this is alignment for a healthy and happy life. And I'll finish today with one last quotation. This one says, to master your emotions is not to suppress them. It is to process them with diligence and express them with intelligence. This one is by Kam Taj. And this quotation again I'll read to you. To master your emotions is not to suppress them. It is to process them with diligence and express them with intelligence. And this is what I work with grief recovery and brain retraining, as some of you might know. In terms of grief, remember that in grief recovery, grief is any experience that has a conflicting emotion. So aren't we happy that COVID time is technically over? Is it? Because we all are thinking about, is there going to be another bug, right? So there's a little bit of fear still remnant because of that experience. Then there's also this awareness that we are really in a good space. Like, wow, I can travel again. I can go to restaurants again. I can meet my friends and neighbors again comfortably. This isn't the topic of conversation regularly. Yet, in my mind, do I have a little bit of fear from that? Not only from that, from my own life experiences, from my own sadness, my own suffering, my own guilt. All of those things are affecting people day to day. And today I want to remind you that we have an ability to master our emotions. And this is what I work with, and I hope that you will reach out to me if you're interested in working with this, and recognize that it starts from that spiritual space, which seems so subtle, and it's so powerful. I wish you a fantastic day, a reflection on these details, maybe rereading these quotations that I put under this video, and maybe actually applying it to your day to see, where is my mind right now, how are my emotions right now, and can I move them into a space that's healing for myself. And of course, as we heal ourselves, we heal the world around us. I wish you a fantastic day or evening ahead, and I hope you remember, transform your mind and transform your life. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.